So one thing I want you to notice about this picture is that these are duplicated chromosomes. So let's be really clear about what we're looking at here. So on the left, this is one duplicated chromosome, this whole shape that looks like an X. Let's say this is from your mom. And this one here that looks like an X, we'll say this is from your dad. So altogether, there's actually 4 chromatid here, but let's just look at the one on the left from your mom. This is actually made of 2 identical molecules of DNA that are connected at the centromere. And since they're duplicated, that means that this is after S phase. So we are going to eventually split these apart during anaphase if we were going into something like mitosis. In meiosis, we're still going to split them apart, but there's a couple extra steps, okay? But this and this are identical. This and this are identical. But altogether, we're going to split these apart. The homologous pair is not identical, but they are similar. They have the same type of information in the same locations. So if a cell has 2 sets of chromosomes, we say it's diploid. If a cell has 1 set, we say it's haploid. So this is an adjective describing how many sets of chromosomes the cell has. Gametes, like egg and sperm cells or sex cells, they're haploid, while somatic cells and germline cells are diploid. Now, this picture is quite clear, but let's kind of go through it together anyway. So let's start with the very start of your life, which is this cell here called a zygote. So when you started your life, this was the only cell that you had. You just had 1 cell, it was a fertilized egg, and it was diploid. And that cell went through mitosis trillions and trillions of times. There's trillions and trillions of cells that came from this one. And when you grow up into an adult, then let's say you have about 30 trillion cells and you are physically able to have babies, then for men, they will produce a type of gamete called a sperm cell. And for a woman, they'll produce a cell called an egg cell. When these 2 cells join together through fertilization, they form the zygote. But one thing to notice about the sperm and the egg cell is that these cells are haploid. So they have N chromosomes. N equals 1 set, or how many individual types of chromosomes you have. So a diploid cell is 2N and a haploid cell is just N. Now, if we look at what's happening with these DNA molecules here, first of all, let's take a look at interphase. So this is before S phase, and we can see that you have a pair of homologous chromosomes. So we'll say that red is from mom and blue is from dad. After S phase, you have 2 molecules of DNA from your dad that are connected in 1 chromosome, and 2 molecules of identical DNA from your mom that are connected at the centromere here. Now, meiosis, one of the things that makes it different from mitosis is that there's 2 separate cell division steps. There's meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. So overall, this process is twice as long as mitosis. In meiosis 1, we make 2 cells. So we split apart these homologous pairs. And in meiosis 2, we actually divide those daughter cells again. We divide them. And so what we end up with is just 1 molecule of DNA of this type. So the parental cell has 2 molecules of this type. We'll say this is chromosome number 5, okay? So the parental cell has 2 chromosome number 5s, but the daughter cells have 1 chromosome number 5. So in other words, they are N, or they are haploid. They have half the DNA of the parental cell. And why do they have half the DNA? Because we need to add 2 cells together to form the zygote. So if they were both diploid, then our zygote would be 4N. It would have too much DNA. That would be very bad. So instead, at the end of